Welcome back to Grimverse History, where we uncover the strange and forgotten sides of history. Tonight, we step into the final horrifying days of a queen whose body betrayed her. Catherine de' Medici, a woman who once controlled kings, spent her last 13 days rotting alive. They say royal deaths are peaceful. A quiet bed, soft prayers, a nation holding its breath. But her ending was nothing like that. A queen died smelling worse than a battlefield corpse. Her flesh decomposed while her heart still beat. Windows thrown open in winter could not clear the air. For 13 long days, she lay alive inside her own ruin. The stench from her bedchamber was so vile that servants fainted before reaching her door. Her lungs filled with infected fluid. Her skin turned grey. Her nails bluish, and through it all, she remained conscious, watching her own body decay and her dynasty crumble with her. You stand in the dim corridor of Blois Castle. You push open the heavy wooden door. The air hits you first, thick, sour, warm, like something spoiled in the dark. A candle trembles in the corner, and beneath the sheets, a queen still breathes. Take a slow breath. Let the noise of your day fall away. You're safe here. If you'd like to stay close through this journey, tap like and subscribe to walk these forgotten corridors with me. Dim the lights. Let the hum of your room soften. Slow your thoughts. Settle into the quiet. It is the winter of 1588. The court fractures. Whispers sharpen. And inside a sealed room of Blois Castle, a queen begins to rot while still alive. The bodies collapse. A queen who rots while still alive. Her decline begins quietly. A wheeze here, a strain there. The kind of sound an aging house makes before a beam gives way. But her body doesn't stop at creaking. It folds inward. It curls around its own infection like a dying animal trying to keep warm. Pleurisy settles into her lungs, thick and heavy, until every breath drags across the inside of her chest, like a wet cloth pulled over broken glass. You can almost hear it if you lean close enough. A dull, sticky rattle, patient and unkind. The infection fills the space beneath her ribs. Fluid gathers, pus forms. Her lungs drown a little more each hour. Her skin loses its color, turning a soft gray that should belong to stone, not flesh. Her fingertips shift toward blue, as if winter starts inside her and moves outward. And through it all, she stays awake. Not fully, not clearly, but awake. A queen trapped inside a body that stops behaving like a body. A strange kind of kingdom. You stand near the bed. The air is warm, too warm, the way air becomes when life tries to leave. It clings to you. It settles in your hair, under your collar. You breathe through your mouth, but it doesn't help. The stench is a creature of its own. Thick, sour, almost sweet in the way spoiled fruit is sweet. Servants fainted here. Some lasted seconds. Some didn't make it past the threshold. You last longer, though you're not sure why. Stubbornness, maybe, or morbid curiosity. Both are human. She knows she smells it. Her eyes shift, unfocused, as if she wants to rise above it all, the way she once rose above ambassadors, generals, and sons who refused to listen. But her body doesn't rise anymore. It sinks. Her mind floats behind her ribs like a candle burning inside a cracked lantern. And the strange thing is this: she stays conscious long enough to watch herself rot. She feels heat spread under her skin where infection brews. She feels the tremor in her hands. She senses her breath shortening, little pieces of air slipping away like torn cloth. This is not a deathbed vigil. It is a front row seat to the collapse of the self, a slow unraveling, a queen dying one cell at a time while still holding a pulse. She lies there for 13 days, 13 long days where her body performs its own undoing. Every hour adds another inch to the smell, Every hour pulls her deeper into the kind of silence that doesn't come from peace, but from exhaustion. It is a strange ending for a woman who once held a kingdom together with nothing but willpower and a stare sharp enough to cut stone. Strange, but fitting. Even queens decay. Some just do it loudly. The corridors outside grow colder, and the story grows heavier. You might want to take another breath before we step further in. A bloody political life. 3 decades of power held in a shaking hand. France greets few people warmly, least of all an Italian girl sent in as a political ornament. She enters the court quietly, a small figure moving through a maze of velvet and suspicion. Eyes follow her, not with admiration, but calculation. Courtiers judge her accent, her posture, her usefulness. No one imagines she might outlast them. You walk beside that younger version of her. The hall feels colder around her presence. Conversations dim as you pass. A few polite nods appear, thin, brittle, pretending goodwill. Lessons arrive fast. Observe more than you speak. Let silence do half the work. And when someone hands you power, hold it lightly, as if it might bite. Time stacks. Uneven, unsteady. A king dies. A second follows. A third stumbles into the throne, pale and frail, as if the crown weighs more than his bones. Yet somehow the kingdom keeps moving. Her influence grows quietly in the background, a hand adjusting the balance while everyone else pretends not to notice. Religious fury splits France down its spine. Catholics, Huguenots, streets that sound more like battlegrounds. And through all this noise, she negotiates. Soft tones, firm agreements, promises wrapped in velvet, deals sealed at hours only owls appreciate. You watch her steady a collapsing world. It looks effortless from afar. Up close, her breath tightens with each decision. She never reveals it, but you can feel it in the space between words. A tension stretched thin. Then comes Paris's darkest night. The massacre. Bodies in the streets. Fear dripping from windowsills. Historians still argue about her role. Some insist she plans it. Others claim she merely watches the machine grind forward. Either way, her name sticks to the tragedy like soot to stone. And soot, as you know, rarely scrubs off clean. Move a little closer. Notice her stillness. It's not serenity, just survival shaped into posture. Her face gives nothing away. Grief, anger, calculation. They all wear the same mask. 3 decades stretch behind her. Years held together by diplomacy, manipulation, and the sort of patience only desperation teaches. People fear her. Some hate her. A few almost admire the precision with which she keeps the kingdom from collapsing. Even storms grow tired. The corridor around you cools, and something heavier waits just ahead. The final crisis. Guise ascends. Valois buckles. Morning comes late in a collapsing kingdom. Light drags itself through the windows, as if even the sun hesitates to enter French politics in 1588. The air tastes metallic, like a storm that refuses to break. You feel it in your throat the moment you step into the corridor. A quiet pressure, a waiting. Power slips faster than breath now. Not from illness, but from hands reaching where they shouldn't. The House of Guise moves through France like a rising tide. Slow at first, then everywhere. Crowds chant their name. Priests bless their ambition. The people treat them not as nobles, but as saviors to be worshipped. It's impressive, in the same way avalanches are impressive. Her son, Henry III, sits on the throne. Technically, he holds royal authority the way a dying candle holds its flame. Weakly, unevenly, threatened by every draft. He tries. He trembles. He hesitates at the exact moments when hesitation is fatal. You watch him walk, and each step feels borrowed. Meanwhile, Duke Henry of Guise cuts through the court like a blade with a prayer carved into its spine. tall, confident, dramatic in the way only men beloved by crowds can afford to be. Whenever he enters a room, conversations adjust around him, as if he pulls gravity with him. The Queen Mother senses it from her sickbed, a shift in the air, heavy, dangerous. You stand near her doorway. Her breath rattles. Her pulse weakens. Yet her mind, still sharp enough to recognize a dynasty beginning its final descent. Her fingers twitch against the sheets, not from pain, but from calculation she no longer has the strength to carry out. Paris rises. Barricades fill the streets. Citizens swarm the alleys, armed with devotion and fear. A city turns against its king with frightening enthusiasm. You hear their chants echo up the stone walls, a rhythm too loud, too unified, too sure. The day of the barricades becomes a spectacle of rebellion. Henry III flees. The Guise family stands triumphant. Royal authority folds like wet paper. Inside the castle, her room grows darker. Another hour passes. Another thread of power unravels. Her entire life has been spent preventing exactly this moment, and now she witnesses it from a bed that smells of decay. She can't rise. She can't intervene. She can barely lift her head. France fractures, and she listens to it crack, the way one listens to ice break beneath their feet. The Estates General gathers. Support shifts. Voices rise like crows circling a carcass. Everyone senses the end of the Valois line, except perhaps the line itself. Dynasties often die slower than expected, but louder than anyone would like. You take one small step back from her bedside. The perfume of infection hangs stubbornly in the air. Her eyes half open, glacier now. Watching a kingdom she glued together begin to peel at the edges. A lifetime of maneuvering. And the board flips anyway. Even grand architects lose control of the building eventually. The hallway outside grows unnervingly still, and what waits next is sharper than politics. It cuts straight through blood, the assassination, and the death that follows like a shadow. Night settles over Blois with a strange heaviness. Not the peaceful kind. This one feels deliberate, as if the walls themselves try to hold their breath. You sense it when you step into the corridor, a tension running along the stones like a low hum beneath your feet. Something is about to snap, and everyone knows it. Even the candles burn lower, as though refusing to witness what comes next. Henry III, worn down by fear and humiliation, chooses a solution as fragile as his crown. He summons his guards. Orders are whispered, not spoken. A king who gives commands as if begging them not to echo. The target is clear. The Duke of Guise, France's beloved champion. The man who walks through the palace without bowing because he no longer thinks he needs to. You follow the footsteps approaching his chamber, soft, careful, too careful. Assassins do not rush. They breathe differently. When the door bursts open, the silence inside breaks like thin glass. A struggle, a cry cut short, then nothing. The kind of nothing that makes your stomach tighten. A corpse lies on the floor, once a symbol of Catholic power, now a quiet shape cooling against the stone. An odd detail strikes you. His expression looks surprised, as if he truly believed crowds and charisma could shield him from steel. A common political mistake. The king celebrates the way guilty men celebrate, with panic buried under forced confidence. He thinks this will save him. He thinks his mother will approve. And for a moment, only a moment, he imagines the throne steadier beneath him. The news reaches her chamber. No one knows how long it takes to sink in. Infection clouds her mind, but fragments of clarity still surface. She understands exactly what her son has done, exactly what it means, exactly how quickly the country will burn in response. Her breath stutters, her chest tightens. Her body is already failing, yet somehow the weight of this failure presses harder. You stand near her bed again. The smell grows stronger, thicker, almost physical. She drifts in and out of fevered visions. faces from decades of conflict blurring into each other like wet ink. Her hands twitch, searching for something to hold on to, but the sheets offer no answers. The decline accelerates. Convulsions shake her. Words come out broken, as if her tongue tries to outrun her lungs. Every breath sounds like a door struggling to close. Her body gives up piece by piece, surrendering to the infection she once tried to ignore. And then comes the final hour. No ceremony, no royal calm, just a slow suffocation as the fluid in her lungs drowns what little remains. Her heart keeps beating long after her body stops cooperating. A stubborn rhythm that refuses to end until the disease ends it. Death, when it arrives, doesn't soften her features. It only freezes them in exhaustion. But the chaos doesn't pause for grief. Her remains are prepared, or attempted, in a process that should honor a queen. Instead, it becomes a quiet disaster. The corpse has already decomposed beyond dignity. Fluids seep. The smell thickens to something indescribable. Even the embalmers step back, eyes watering, faces shifting into a kind of horrified respect. You don't stay long. No one does. Not even those paid to. Decay has its own authority. Outside, the kingdom stirs restlessly. What comes after her death is no gentler than the life she fought to hold together. A tragic legacy. A dynasty collapses quietly. Morning drifts in without urgency. Light sifts across the stone floor in thin strips, pale, hesitant, as if unsure whether it should illuminate what remains. You linger near the doorway of her final room, and something in the air feels emptied. Not peaceful, just hollow, the way a room sounds after someone finishes speaking and never returns. Ceremony does not arrive. No drums, no black banners, not even the polite sorrow that courts often perform out of habit. Her name slips into silence faster than her breath did. Courtiers step around the subject of her death as though grief might stain their shoes. Embalmers attempt their task, but the body has already crossed beyond the reach of rituals. Decay argues louder than tradition. A temporary burial becomes the only feasible choice. Workers move quickly, faces tight, hands steady, in the way people grow steady only when they're trying not to inhale. The coffin disappears beneath a muted sprinkle of earth. No speeches follow. You stand at a distance. Cold air brushes your knuckles. The moment feels strangely private for a woman who once shaped an entire kingdom by sheer will. Yet this is how power melts, quiet as snow, leaving nothing to hold. Her last son carries on, or tries to. Henry III drifts through the palace like a man listening for footsteps behind him. Every corridor seems too long. Every advisor seems too calm. He senses the end even before it touches him. You notice it in his posture, shoulders pulled inward, as if he can already hear the blade approaching. Months pass. A fanatic's knife finds him before clarity does. One quick strike, one sharp exhale, and the Valois line folds into history. No thunder, just the soft thud of a dying king meeting the floor. France absorbs the shock with uneasy appetite. Power-hungry factions flare. Fanatic crowds chant in the streets. Foreign whispers slip through the cracks of policy. The kingdom she held together for decades splits into pieces with startling efficiency. Chaos rarely wastes time. Decades roll forward. Centuries follow. A revolution rises with hunger and cold certainty. Royal tombs open under torchlight, one stone lid after another. Bones scatter into piles. Bodies tumble into trenches. Lime hisses as it's poured. Her remains slide into the communal pit, stripped of identity, even status. You pause at the rim of that imagined grave. Wind moves through the ruins, carrying a faint scent of wet earth. Nothing in the heap reveals who she once was. Time, with its usual confidence, levels every crown sooner or later. Funny, in a dry and quiet way, someone who spent a lifetime bending history ends up folded back into it, like a forgotten scrap of parchment. Dust settles. Your breath slows. Another chapter waits in the dark, soft at first, then deeper. Slow down now. Let the breath settle. Let the room grow quiet again. A faint chill still lingers. The kind you find in old stone corridors, where candlelight flickers and history drifts like dust in the air. If you listen closely, you might still hear a distant footstep or feel the weight of a wooden door closing softly behind us. We've walked far tonight, across cold halls, past whispers no longer spoken, through shadows shaped by crowns and sorrow, and now we return, back to the warmth of this moment, back to the quiet that belongs only to you. I'll close the book slowly, not with finality, but with care, as if the story might wake if we move too fast. You can rest here a little longer, with the gentle hum of the night holding everything in place. If journeys like this soothe you, you're welcome to leave a soft like, or share this quiet path with someone who dreams of old stories. And if you wish to wander again, you may subscribe and keep a place beside me each time we walk through history's darker rooms. For now, breathe. Let the night settle around you like a warm blanket. Goodbye, and we will meet again.